What happens when America's most beloved actor completely loses it on late-night television over a joke that crossed the line? It only took 30 seconds for a playful conversation to spiral into one of the most shocking confrontations in talk show history, ending with Tom Hanks being kicked off the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Before we get into this absolutely wild story, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We post daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, and you definitely don't want to miss what we uncover next. Last night on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Tom Hanks walked onto the stage to massive applause from the studio audience. The legendary actor was there to promote his latest film, and everyone expected the usual charming banter that's made Tom one of the most reliable talk show guests in Hollywood. He came out smiling, waving to the crowd, looking completely relaxed in his casual blazer and jeans combination. The audience was on their feet, cheering for the man, who's been America's dad for decades. Jimmy greeted him with the usual warm handshake and hug, and they settled into their chairs as the applause died down. The energy was perfect. Warm, friendly, exactly what you'd expect from two people who've done this dance dozens of times before. They had that easy chemistry that comes from years of interviews together, that comfortable rapport where you can tell they genuinely enjoy each other's company. They started with some light conversation about Tom's recent vacation. Tom told a funny story about trying to go sightseeing in Italy and getting mobbed by tourists who wanted selfies. He did impressions of the different accents, acted out, trying to hide behind a menu at a restaurant, had the whole audience laughing. He talked about how his wife kept laughing at him, trying to be incognito while wearing a baseball cap that said "Not Tom Hanks" on it, which of course made everyone recognize him even more. Jimmy was cracking up, throwing in jokes about Tom needing a better disguise, suggesting he should grow a beard or gain 50 pounds. The audience was howling, completely engaged. This was exactly why Tom Hanks is such a beloved guest. He's funny, self-deprecating, and makes everyone feel comfortable. Jimmy asked about Tom's new movie, and Tom launched into talking about the script, the director, his co-stars. He shared a story about a scene that went wrong in the funniest way possible, where a prop malfunction had everyone on set laughing so hard they couldn't finish shooting for 20 minutes. He acted it out with full commitment, standing up from his chair to demonstrate how a door that was supposed to stay closed kept swinging open at the worst possible moments, ruining take after take. He mimicked the director's increasing frustration, did voices for different crew members, had everyone in tears from laughing. Jimmy was loving it, encouraging him, asking follow-up questions that let Tom showcase his natural storytelling ability. "Did you keep any of those takes?" Jimmy asked. "Are they going to be in the blooper reel?" Tom laughed and said, "They better be, or he'd demand his money back." They talked about Tom's wife, about his kids, about his grandchildren. Tom got a little emotional, talking about becoming a grandfather, how it changed his perspective on life, how he sees the world differently now. He talked about reading bedtime stories with different voices for all the characters, about tea parties and toy cars, about how nothing else in the world matters when he's on the floor playing with his grandkids. It was sweet and genuine, the kind of moment that reminds people why they love Tom Hanks. The audience was eating it up, some people even wiping their eyes. For the first 20 minutes, this was textbook late-night television. Two professionals at the top of their game, making entertaining content, giving the audience exactly what they wanted. Tom was charming and funny. Jimmy was engaged and quick-witted. Everything was going perfectly. Then Jimmy decided to bring up a topic that would change everything. "So Tom," Jimmy said, his tone shifting to that mock-serious voice he uses when he's setting up a bit, "I have to ask you about something that's been making the rounds online. There's been this whole thing on social media about some comments you made years ago. People are digging up old interviews, old quotes, and they're analyzing everything you've ever said, looking at stuff from the 80s and 90s with today's lens." Tom's smile faltered just slightly. You could see his body language change, becoming more guarded. "Oh boy," he said, clearly not thrilled about where this was going. What did I supposedly say now? What ancient artifact did the internet dig up this time? Jimmy laughed, but there was something different in it now. Something that felt less friendly, more calculating. Well, there's this clip that's going viral where you made some jokes about women in Hollywood. Some people are saying it hasn't aged well, that it's kind of inappropriate by today's standards. There are think pieces being written about it, Twitter threads analyzing it frame by frame. The audience got quiet. You could feel the energy in the room shift dramatically. This wasn't fun anymore. This wasn't the warm, comfortable conversation they'd been enjoying. This was uncomfortable. This was tense. Tom's body language changed completely. His shoulders tensed. His smile disappeared. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair. "Jimmy," Tom said, his voice taking on a warning tone, "I don't think this is appropriate for right now. I came here to talk about my film." But Jimmy kept going, not reading the room or choosing to ignore it. "Come on, Tom. You can't just pretend it didn't happen. People are talking about it. Don't you think you should address it?" Tom's jaw clenched. "Address what, exactly? Some out-of-context clip that people are misinterpreting? Some joke I made decades ago that I've probably already apologized for 100 times? What do you want me to say, Jimmy?" "I just think," Jimmy said, and now he was committing to this bit, or this confrontation. It was hard to tell which. That if people are questioning whether you're really as nice as everyone thinks, maybe you should respond to that. Maybe America's favorite dad has some explaining to do. The audience laughed nervously at that, but it wasn't the good kind of laughter. It was the uncomfortable kind, the kind where people don't know if they should be laughing or not. Tom leaned forward in his chair, and his voice went cold. "Are you seriously doing this right now? Are you actually trying to create drama out of nothing for your show?" "I'm not creating drama," Jimmy said, but his smirk suggested otherwise. "I'm asking about something that's already out there. Something people are already talking about. That's what we do here, Tom. We talk about what's happening." "What's happening?" Tom said, his voice getting louder. "Is that you're trying to ambush me on your show? You're trying to make me look bad for entertainment. That's what's happening." Jimmy's face flushed. "Ambush? Tom, come on. This is late-night TV. We make jokes. We talk about controversial stuff. You've been doing this long enough to know how it works." "I know how it works when there's respect involved," Tom shot back. "When there's actual communication beforehand about what topics are on the table. This is you trying to get a viral moment at my expense." "Viral moment?" Jimmy laughed, but it sounded forced now. "You think I need you for viral moments? Please, I'm just asking questions, Tom. If you don't have anything to hide, why are you so defensive?" That was the wrong thing to say. Tom's face went red. "Defensive? You just accused me of being inappropriate with women on national television, based on some out-of-context clip, and you're wondering why I'm defensive?" "I didn't accuse you of anything," Jimmy said, but he was backpedaling now, realizing this was going wrong. "I just brought up something that's being discussed online. That's literally my job." "Your job is to entertain people," Tom said, his voice sharp. "Not to throw your guests under the bus. Not to create controversy where there isn't any. Not to take cheap shots at people who've considered you a friend." "A friend?" Jimmy's voice rose, and there was real anger in it now. "Come on, Tom. We're not friends. We're colleagues. I interview you, you promote your movies. That's the relationship. That's all it's ever been. Don't act like I owe you special treatment just because you've been on my show a bunch of times." The audience gasped. Several people actually gasped loud enough for the microphones to pick up. A few people even said, "Oh no," or "What?" under their breath. This was not the vibe anyone expected from Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight. This was supposed to be fun. This was supposed to be easy. But now it felt like watching a friendship explode in real time. Tom stared at Jimmy with an expression of complete shock, his mouth actually hanging open for a second. He blinked several times, like he couldn't quite process what he'd just heard. "Wow," he said quietly. his voice barely above a whisper. Wow, I've done your show probably 30 times over the years. I've always been respectful, always been prepared, always brought my A game. I've promoted your show when I didn't have to. I've sent you congratulations on your personal milestones. I've defended you when people criticized you. And this is how you see it? As just a transaction? As just business? That's how show business works, Tom, Jimmy said. And there was an edge to his voice now. Everything is a transaction. You come here to sell tickets, I get content. That's the deal. Don't act like it's something more noble than that. I come here, Tom said, his voice shaking slightly. With anger, because I thought there was mutual respect. I thought we enjoyed working together. I thought there was something more than just using each other. Clearly I was wrong. Jimmy shrugged, and that casual gesture seemed to infuriate Tom even more. You're being way too sensitive about this. It's not that deep. I asked you one question about something that's already public, something that's already being discussed all over social media. And you're acting like I committed some huge betrayal. Like I broke into your house and stole your diary. It was one question, Tom. You did betray me, Tom said, standing up now, unable to sit still anymore. The movement was sudden enough that it startled people. You brought up something controversial without any warning, on live television, in front of a studio audience, with millions of people watching at home, knowing I'd have no chance to prepare or contextualize. That's not just asking a question. That's ambushing someone. That's setting me up to look bad no matter how I respond. Maybe you look bad because there's something to look bad about, Jimmy said, and you could tell he immediately regretted it. His eyes widened slightly. His face showed a flash of, oh shit, but the words were already out there, hanging in the air, impossible to take back. Tom's eyes went wide, then narrowed. His face went from red to almost purple with rage. Excuse me? What the hell did you just say to me? Did you just imply that I've done something wrong? That there's some secret that I'm hiding? I'm saying, Jimmy stood up too now, not willing to let Tom have the physical high ground. That if you're this upset about one question, maybe there's more to the story than you want to admit. Maybe the reason you're so angry is because you know you did something wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, Tom's voice boomed through the studio. Several people in the audience jumped. I made some jokes decades ago that by today's, quote, standards might be considered tone deaf. I've already acknowledged that. I've already learned and grown from it. But you're trying to paint me as some kind of predator or creep for your ratings, and that's not okay. That's not just not okay, Jimmy. That's damn near slander. It's not slander if it's true, Jimmy shot back. And I'm not calling you a predator. I'm just pointing out that people are questioning your image. The whole nicest guy in Hollywood thing might be exactly that. A thing. An image. A performance. Tom took a step closer to Jimmy's desk, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. You want to talk about performances? Let's talk about this whole thing you do. This fake nice guy routine you put on for the cameras. This I'm just a regular guy making jokes persona. At least I'm genuine, Jimmy. At least what you see is what you get with me. Can you say the same? Are you calling me fake? Jimmy's voice was getting louder now too. I'm fake? That's rich coming. From someone who's built an entire career on playing characters. You're literally a professional faker, Tom. That's your job. Acting is my job, Tom said coldly. Being a decent human being is who I am. There's a difference. A big difference. And the fact that you can't see that you're conflating the two, says a lot more about you than it does about me. The band was completely silent. The audience was frozen. This had gone so far beyond awkward that nobody knew what to do. The producers off camera were frantically gesturing, probably trying to signal for a commercial break, but neither Tom nor Jimmy was paying attention. You know what your problem is, Tom? Jimmy said, and his voice had taken on a nasty quality. You think you're above everyone. You think because you've played heroes and good guys that you actually are one. But you're just another actor who got lucky. Just another guy who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Tom's face went from red to almost purple. And you know what your problem is, Jimmy? You're a bully. You hide behind comedy and claim it's all jokes, but what you really do is tear people down. You punch down. You make people uncomfortable and then act like they're the problem for not laughing. That's not comedy. That's just mean. I'm mean? Jimmy laughed bitterly. You're the one who can't take a simple question without throwing a tantrum. You're the one who's making this into a huge deal. I asked you about something that's already public knowledge, and you've turned it into this whole thing. Because it matters, Tom shouted. Because you ambushed me. Because you violated the basic trust that exists between a host and a guest. Because you don't get to just throw out accusations disguised as questions and then act innocent when someone calls you out. I didn't accuse you of anything, Jimmy shouted back. I asked you about something people are talking about. That's not an accusation. That's a question. A loaded question, Tom fired back. A question designed to make me look guilty no matter how I answer. If I defend myself, I look defensive. If I apologize again, I look guilty. If I refuse to engage, I look like I'm hiding something. It's a trap, and you know it. You set me up, Jimmy. You set me up for a moment, for a clip, for content, and I'm not going to play along. Then don't, Jimmy said, crossing his arms. Leave. If you can't handle being asked tough questions, if you can't handle anyone questioning your perfect image, then leave. Nobody's forcing you to be here. You know what? Tom said, his voice suddenly very calm, which was somehow more frightening than the shouting. You're right. Nobody's forcing me to be here. And I'm not going to stay somewhere where I'm not respected, where I'm being used, where my so-called friend thinks it's appropriate to try to humiliate me for ratings. Oh, come on, Jimmy said, but he sounded less confident now. Don't be so dramatic. It's not that serious. It is that serious, Tom said firmly. You tried to damage my reputation on live television. You questioned my character, my integrity, my decency. And for what? For a viral moment? For some buzz? For people to talk about your show tomorrow? Was it worth it, Jimmy? Was it worth losing whatever respect I had for you? Jimmy's face went pale. Tom, look, maybe I went too far. Maybe? Tom laughed, but there was no humor in it. Maybe? You definitely went too far. You crossed a line. And the worst part is, I don't even think you understand why. I don't think you get why this is so wrong. Then explain it to me, Jimmy said. But it sounded more like a challenge than a genuine request. I shouldn't have to explain basic decency to a grown man, Tom said, his voice firm but controlled. I shouldn't have to tell you that you don't ambush guests with controversial topics without any heads up. I shouldn't have to explain that there's a difference between fun, teasing between friends, and genuinely trying to make someone look bad for entertainment value. I shouldn't have to spell out that when someone trusts you enough to come on your show repeatedly, to be vulnerable with you, to share stories and laughs with you, that you don't weaponize that trust for a moment-off drama. But apparently, I do. Apparently these things aren't obvious to you. So here it is. What you did tonight was not okay. It was not funny. It was not good television. It was cruel. It was calculated. It was designed to put me in an impossible position. And I won't be a part of it. I won't participate in my own humiliation for your ratings. He started pulling off his microphone, yanking the wire from under his jacket. Tom, come on, Jimmy said, and now there was almost a pleading quality to his voice. Don't leave like this. Let's talk about this. Let's work it out. Work it out? Tom looked at him incredulously. Jimmy, you just told me we're not friends. You told me this is just a transaction. You told me I'm too sensitive for being upset, that you tried to make me look like a creep on your show. What exactly is there to work out? You've made your position very clear. I was just frustrated, Jimmy said, backpedaling hard now. I didn't mean that stuff about not being friends. That was the heat of the moment. Was it? Tom challenged. Or was it just the truth coming out? Because it felt pretty honest to me. It felt like you've been thinking that for a while and finally said it out loud. That's not fair, Jimmy protested. You're twisting my words. I'm repeating your words, Tom corrected. Your exact words. We're not friends. We're colleagues. That's what you said. On live television. In front of millions of people. You can't take that back now, just because you realize how bad it makes you look. Look, I'm sorry, Jimmy said. And he actually did sound sorry now, his voice cracking slightly. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry I brought up the controversy thing. I'm sorry this went so wrong. I didn't think it would blow up like this. I thought we could have a conversation about it. Maybe even laugh about it. Can we please just sit back down and reset? Start over? Pretend the last 5 minutes didn't happen? You're sorry it went wrong, Tom interrupted, his voice cutting through Jimmy's rambling. You're not sorry, you did it. You're sorry it didn't work out the way you wanted. You're sorry I'm not playing along. You're sorry you're looking bad right now. That's different from actually being sorry for what you did. That's being sorry about the consequences, not the action. Do you understand the difference? Jimmy ran his hand through his hair, looking frustrated and cornered. What do you want me to say, Tom? What would make this okay? Nothing, Tom said simply. Nothing will make this okay. You can't undo what you did. You can't take back what you said. And honestly, I don't think you even understand why it was wrong. So there's no point in continuing this conversation. Are you really going to throw away our relationship over one interview? Jimmy asked. Over one argument? You're the one who threw it away, Tom said. The moment you decided it was okay to blindside me with controversial questions. The moment you decided your ratings were more important than treating me with respect. The moment you told me we're not actually friends. You threw it away, Jimmy. Not me. I'm just acknowledging what you already made clear. This is ridiculous, Jimmy said. But he sounded desperate now. You're being ridiculous. It was one question. One topic. And you're acting like I murdered your family. No, Tom said, his voice cold. I'm acting like someone who's been disrespected and mistreated by someone they trusted. I'm acting like someone who has enough self-respect not to stick around where they're not valued. And if you think that's ridiculous, that says everything I need to know. About you. He tossed the microphone pack onto Jimmy's desk with a thud. Tom, wait, Jimmy said, reaching out like he was going to physically stop him. We can fix this. Let's take a break, cool down, and come back. There's nothing to fix, Tom said, already heading toward the stage exit. You can't fix broken trust. You can't fix someone showing you who they really are. You wanted to be colleagues instead of friends? Fine, we're colleagues. And as a colleague, let me give you some advice. Don't do to your next guest what you just did to me. Because eventually, you're going to run out of people willing to come on your show. Is that a threat? Jimmy's voice rose again. Are you threatening me? Tom turned back, looking tired now instead of angry. It's not a threat. It's a prediction. You can't treat people like disposable content and expect them to keep coming back. You can't burn bridges and act surprised when you end up alone on your island. Get out then, Jimmy said. Suddenly, his voice hard again. If you're going to leave, then leave. Stop standing there lecturing me and just go. We don't need you here. I've got plenty of other guests who'd be happy to sit in that chair. Good, Tom said. I hope they have better experiences than I did. I genuinely hope that. Because nobody deserves to be treated the way you treated me tonight. I treated you like every other guest. Jimmy protested. I asked tough questions. I pushed for answers. That's what I do. No, Tom said, stopping one more time before the exit. You treated me like a target, like an opportunity, like a means to an end. And that's the problem. That's the fundamental problem with you, Jimmy. You don't see people. You see content. You see ratings. You see viral moments. But you don't see actual human beings with feelings and dignity. Oh, spare me the moral lecture, Jimmy said, throwing his hands up. You're not some saint, Tom. You're not perfect. And I'm tired of you acting like you're better than everyone else. "I never said I was perfect," Tom said quietly. "I never claimed to be a saint. But I do try to treat people with basic respect. I do try to be decent. And I do try not to hurt people for my own benefit. If that makes me act like I'm better than everyone, then maybe the bar is too low." He walked off the Jimmy Kimmel live stage, his footsteps echoing in the now silent studio. The cameras followed him all the way to the exit, capturing every moment of his departure. Jimmy stood there behind his desk, his face a mixture of anger, embarrassment, and something that might have been regret. The audience sat in complete, shocked silence, nobody knowing whether to clap or stay quiet. The last shot before they finally cut away showed the empty chair where Tom had been sitting, the discarded microphone still on Jimmy's desk, and Jimmy's face as he realized what had just happened. One of the biggest stars in Hollywood had just walked off his show after a confrontation that nobody would forget. The image of Tom Hanks pushing through the studio door, not looking back, would be the moment everyone remembered, a moment when America's nicest guy finally had enough.